I'm Colin Gold, and this is a collection of my current works. The first piece is about Venice, and it is about how over-tourism is actually spoiling the city that we really have begun to love. Um, every day, cruise liners arrive. They're huge. They tower over the buildings. Perhaps 3 to 5,000 people alight. They come into the city. They're guided around. They buy fast food. They buy cheap tourist items. They leave a lot of the fast food packaging everywhere. And so the city is really becoming a Disneyland for them. Now, having cruise liners that big, of course, affects the water levels. And the water levels and the pressure of the water as the boats come in affect the piles that support the buildings. After all, Venice is built on mud. And so slowly the city is being destroyed from the roots up by this onslaught, this daily onslaught. And somehow the tourism has to be curbed in order to make the city survive. I've named this piece India on a Trolley. Now, spiritual communities which are full of afterlife promises of enlightenment, they relish in their day-to-day toils. India survives on however many gods you can invent, because each one will serve a purpose of every facet you can ever dream of, now and actually in the afterlife as well. Now, when you visit a village, probably you'll see the spectrum from heaven to hell. You'll see glorious images, you'll see images that you can only glimpse at once, but this is how India is. India is a 360-degree of existence. The problem is, when a pandemic hits a country like this, there's going to be some form of selection. And having a right-wing government, a populist government that decides that possibly educated cities, hubs of industry, professional people are going to survive first, and villages are just going to be left at the back of the queue. And in the pandemic, that's exactly what happened in this COVID situation. The villages were left at the back of the pile. People suffered. Hospital trolleys were outside hospitals and buildings with people dying on them, while the rich had their vaccinations and their oxygen and all the medication they needed. And it was a tragic situation. And thankfully, India is picking itself up again. It's on its feet and back to the unreality and the beauty of Rajasthan and India. Turbans. In Delhi, and in fact in quite a few cities I visited, there were shops selling fashion turbans. Obviously the turban was the initial symbol of identity, of religion. It has now become a fashion item where you can choose from floral to glittery to strong colour to embroidered according to the occasion that you're going to. Or if it's just for a religious purpose, obviously you're going to stick to the traditional forms of folding, of wrapping and colour. Turban styles are regional. So for instance, if you go to Rajasthan, you'll probably see lots of twisted and knotted turbans wound round and round and round and round the head to make this huge form. Where if you were to go to another city that is perhaps more Sikh orientated, you would probably see more folded and pleated turbans, more flattened to the head. Jodhpur. Now the next piece is a piece of Jodhpur wall, as if I've removed it from the old town that sits at the foot of the fort, which is the centrepiece of Jodhpur, and it's painted blue. And in fact, I've just found out that the reason it's painted blue is because the consistency of the paint with its chemicals repels mosquitoes, which is completely fantastic. Any city in the sun should have a blue section to it, a blue quarter, so people feel safe there. Now the city has grown organically. You see houses with walls with deities set into the walls, with Ganesh behind grills, with old pieces of biro, with old spoons used to decorate these gods, biscuit tins, cake tins. Any form of implement that's not used anymore is decorated and painted and added to the facades of the city, which gives it a fantastic living organic existence. Gods and beyond. I went to a temple, and in the temple was literally a supermarket of deities, probably a couple of hundred. You could choose whatever mood you were in, whatever your need was, from birth to death and beyond. There was a deity for you, and it was incredible to see. And my piece represents just a handful of images you can pray to, you can keep with you for protection and for survival. The next piece is to do with Afghanistan, but quite honestly, what happened in Afghanistan is the same as what happened in Syria. It's what's happening in Ukraine right at this very minute. It's a country that is destroying basically its heart. The Taliban moved in, they cleared out villages, they cleared out all the men, they killed many people, they left the women locked up, shut up in the mosques, in their houses, just begging to be released, begging for help. As you can see from the image, I've shown a mosque with women's hands coming through the roof, reaching to the skies for some sort of answer. This sentiment has to be the same sentiment as Aleppo in Syria, when that town was destroyed, when many other towns were destroyed. It must be the same feeling and the same anguish the people had that were totally defenceless. In Ukraine, it's the same thing. Invaders come into the country, they destroy as much as they can out of greed, women are holding their hands up to the sky, and men are trying to defend their homeland. It's a tragic situation, and it's a situation that repeats itself. It's a spiral of time. The way I've actually demonstrated this emotion in this piece that you see now, I used discarded and throwaway computer boxes and packaging boxes to make up the feeling of the city. Crushed children's toys, which were the cars and the tanks, dead plants, dead twigs, and the whole thing is covered in sand. So in fact, it's just recycled debris, and that is what's left at the end of a terrible war and terrible destruction. The next images you're going to see, it's a multimedia piece. There are sort of architectural models painted black. There are planets, black, and the whole piece is to do with the environment, climate change, how it's affecting us, and what the future looks like if we don't do something about it right now. The models, each one is based on, for instance, the first piece, which you can see, which is religion. So it's a church within a mosque within a church within a mosque, the constant changing aspirational views of people and different societies that need different beliefs. Again, all these pieces are made from debris, from pieces which have been discarded from factories, because we're having to reuse, recycle everything for the future, and reinvent ourselves really as a society in order to continue and to move forward with new types of energy, getting rid of fossil fuels, reusing what we've taken for granted for years, which is the wind, the sun, the sea, in order to create power for our existence from now on. Every piece that I make, I try to use recycled materials, whether it be cutting up an old t-shirt, using supermarket fish boxes, bits of wood I found in the street, or strange objects that people have given me. I try to use that because quite a lot of the things I'm saying are fundamental. They come from the heart, and this is the way I can simulate perhaps a conversation with you and take it further for discussion. Colin Gold, London, 2022.